My dear friends, today I want to take you on a journey, not into fantasy, not into fiction, but into the real courtroom of Athens over 2,000 years ago. A moment where one man's courage changed the meaning of truth and freedom forever. This man was Socrates. Glowing Star Scene 1. The Courtroom of Athens. Imagine the scene. The court is filled with hundreds of citizens, the air heavy with tension. The greatest city of the ancient world, Athens, the land of democracy, art, and wisdom, now stands ready to judge its greatest thinker. Socrates is accused of two crimes: corrupting the youth of Athens with his teachings, not believing in the gods of the city. Both charges are deadly serious. If found guilty, the punishment is death by poison. But here is the irony, my friends. The man accused of corrupting the youth is the very man who inspired them to think freely. The man accused of rejecting the gods is the very one who reminded them to seek higher meaning. And now, with the eyes of the city upon him, Socrates stands tall, calm, and unshaken. Glowing Star Lesson 1. The Power of Questions. Socrates had a method, known today as the Socratic method. He would never give people answers directly. Instead, he asked them questions. He would stop politicians, craftsmen, even generals and ask, "What is justice? What is virtue? What is courage?" At first, people thought they knew. But under Socrates' questions, their answers fell apart. And suddenly they realized they did not know as much as they claimed. This, my friends, is why Socrates was feared. Because questions are more dangerous than swords. A sword can cut the body, but a question can awaken the mind. And here lies our first lesson. Courage begins when you dare to ask the questions that no one else will. Think about your own life. How often do we stay silent in the face of injustice, in the face of lies, in the face of wrong traditions? How often do we accept things just because this is how it has always been? But Socrates shows us, change begins with a question, and freedom begins with the courage to ask. Glowing Star Scene 2. The Trial of Courage. In the court, the judges demanded Socrates defend himself. They expected him to plead, to beg, to show weakness. But instead, he stood tall and said, "I will not stop questioning. Even if you set me free, I will continue to seek the truth." Can you feel the fire in these words? He was not afraid of their threats. He was not afraid of their judgment. He reminded the court, the unexamined life is not worth living. And this is our second lesson. Stand by your values, even if the world turns against you. Socrates could have chosen silence. He could have apologized falsely. He could have saved his life by compromise. But he refused, because he knew living a lie is worse than dying in truth. And I ask you, how many times in our lives do we compromise our principles just to please others? How often do we remain silent when our voice could make a difference? Socrates shows us that the true measure of courage is not survival, it is integrity. Glowing Star Scene 3. The Cup of Poison. The court finds him guilty. The punishment, death by hemlock poison. Now imagine, the crowd falls silent. His students weep. His family begs him to escape. Even his friend Crito offers him a plan. "We can bribe the guards. We can save you. Let us flee." But Socrates refuses. What would be the use of living if I betrayed my principles? To escape would be to admit guilt. And I am not guilty. Then, with a calm smile, he drinks the cup of poison. He faces death, not with fear, but with peace. And in that final act, he redefined freedom forever. Because freedom is not given by rulers. Freedom is not written in laws. Freedom is when you live in such truth that not even death can control you. Glowing Star Lesson 3. Applying Socrates to our lives. My friends, each of us faces our own trial. Maybe not in a court of Athens, but in the courtroom of life. When people pressure you to lie for success, that is your trial. When society tells you to abandon your dreams, that is your trial. When fear whispers, "You are not enough," that is your trial. And in those moments, you must choose. Will you drink the poison of compromise, or will you stand with courage? Socrates teaches us that real power is not in wealth, not in status, not in survival. Real power is in living with truth. Glowing star modern connection. Think about history after Socrates. His courage inspired Plato. Plato inspired Aristotle. Aristotle inspired generations of thinkers. And together, they shaped the very foundation of modern democracy, science, and philosophy. All of this, because one man, in one trial, refused to betray his soul. Now ask yourself, what legacy will you leave behind? Will you live quietly, pleasing the world but betraying yourself? Or will you stand tall, even if it means standing alone? Final call to action. So, my dear friends, when your trial comes, remember Socrates. Remember that courage is not the absence of fear, it is action in the face of fear. Remember that truth is not something to hide, it is a light meant to shine. And remember that freedom is not outside you, it is within you, when you choose integrity over compromise. Let me repeat his words one last time. The unexamined life is not worth living. So live a life worth examining. Live a life of courage. Live a life of truth. Live a life of freedom. Because that, my friends, is the only life truly worth living. Thank you.